Hey, fellow writers, welcome back. So today we're going deep, like really deep, into Anne Lamott's Bird by Bird, some instructions on writing and life.
Oh yeah, a classic.
Definitely. And we're going to pull out like the juiciest advice for all you aspiring writers out there.
And maybe some life lessons too.
Right, unexpected ones. But first, just a quick overview, right? Anne Lamott, her upbringing, how did that shape her writing?
Well, her dad was a writer, huge influence. He was all about, observing life, really paying attention to details, even the kind of awkward ones.
Yeah, and she actually talks about finding an article he wrote, criticizing their whole community, even his wife. It's like, wow, total honesty.
Right. He called their county, Marin County, a terrible place to raise kids, despite, how beautiful it is.
Beautiful on the outside, yeah.
Yeah, he was pointing out problems like alcoholism. He even said women at the supermarket had glints of madness in their eyes. Like, whoa.
Intense. So that definitely shaped her sharp wit, her sense of humor.
Oh, absolutely. But it wasn't just family, She was into literature, too, big on Kierkegaard, Beckett, C.S. Lewis.
And they all explore those complex human emotions, which is
Yeah.
what she does.
Right, like that quote, C.S. Lewis, where he talks about finding a zoo of lusts, a bedlam of ambitions, like all these crazy things inside himself.
Whoa, yeah, that's powerful stuff. So it all leads to the big question, why write? And Lamont tackles that with her classic humor,
Oh, yeah, she throws in some quotes like John Ashbery, who just says, because I want to.
straightforward.
And then there's Flannery O'Connor saying, because I'm good at it.
Love it. But she goes deeper than that too, right?
Oh, for sure. She
Yeah.
brings in that scene from Chariots of Fire. Remember Eric Liddell says he runs because God made him fast.
Uh, recognizing your talents.
Exactly. For Lamott, that's writing. But, getting started, that's the hard part.
Definitely. So what does she say about writer's block? Because we all get that.
This is where she brings in that brilliant metaphor, the 1-inch picture frame.
Okay, explain that.
So instead of freaking out about the whole novel, you focus on what you see through that tiny frame. Small, manageable piece.
Like that story with her brother struggling to write a report on birds.
Yeah, and her dad says, bird by bird, buddy, just take it, bird by bird.
I love that. So
Yeah.
it's about breaking it down, and once you start, you got to embrace the shitty first draft.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Giving yourself permission to write badly. No judgment, just get those ideas out.
Like she did with those restaurant reviews. She hated writing those.
But she got them done. So, okay, you're writing, but how do you, make your characters real?
Well, Lamott has another metaphor for that, the emotional acre.
It's like picturing each character having their own acre of land, where all their beliefs, their desires live.
Their vulnerabilities, right?
Yeah, all of that. And they own that space. They have the right to protect it.
It's like a visual for character development. And it reminds me of that anecdote about the boy against the fence.
Oh, yeah, the one who just popped up in her writing.
Yeah, out of nowhere. She was writing about school lunches, and there he was.
So characters can come from anywhere, and she's big on dialogue. How characters speak reveals so much.
It's true. You can tell a lot from how people talk.
Yeah.
Their backgrounds, everything.
Right. And she says, focus on their routines, their beliefs, what matters to them, like what holds their life together, what are their routines, how aware are they of their own vulnerabilities.
Deep questions, yeah.
Yeah.
So you've got your characters, but they need a world, right? Setting.
Oh, for sure. And for Lamott, setting has to reflect the characters, the story.
It's not just a pretty backdrop.
Definitely not. It has to feel real. And she
Oh.
even tells this story about having to research gardens for a novel.
Even though she prefers, like, plastic flowers.
Exactly, but she did it for authenticity. And she's big on those tiny details,
The little things that bring it to life. Like that story about how she learned the term wirehood for champagne.
From a random phone call.
See, inspiration can strike anywhere.
Um,
But okay, so you've written something, now what? Feedback, scary stuff.
oh, yeah, she talks about writing groups, workshops, and how it can be good and bad.
It can be brutal.
Right. You might get great insights, but your spirit might get crushed too. So finding the right balance. She talks about having a writing partner, someone who'll be honest but constructive, like a midwife for your ideas.
And she shares her own experiences with getting feedback. Like, first she's defensive, but then she's grateful.
It's true, feedback can sting, but it makes your writing better. And if it's not constructive, she's clear, walk away. Protect your creative self.
Good advice.
Yeah.
But there's another monster, right? Jealousy.
Oh, the green-eyed monster. Hits us all. You start comparing yourself to other writers.
And she's brutally honest about her own jealousy, like that story about her friend who had tons of money.
And didn't know why God was giving her so much.
Right. It's hilarious. Her coping mechanisms, Lamay's breathing, ranting.
Finding solace in nature. It's funny, but it's real. And she has good advice. Focus on your work, be grateful, find supportive people.
Shift from comparing to creating. So we've covered a lot. First drafts, emotional acres, writer's block, jealousy. What about those index cards she uses?
Oh, those. Such a simple but effective system. Jot down thoughts, observations. She keeps them everywhere, even in her car.
Always be ready.
Oh,
And it's not about being perfectly organized, right?
nope. It's what works for you. And she uses them to fight writer's block, sifting through them, looking for sparks.
Like a treasure chest of ideas.
Yeah.
In case you want to carry index cards everywhere.
Me too, because inspiration, it really can come from anywhere. And simple tools help. But now you got to share your work, right? Publication, scary stuff.
She compares it to, get this, the last weeks of pregnancy and the first day of 7th grade gym class.
Wow, it's a combo. And it totally captures the feeling. Anticipation, vulnerability, self-doubt, all of it.
And she doesn't downplay rejection. Like that story about the editor who basically said her life was boring.
Ouch. But she didn't quit. She kept going. It shows, rejection happens. Not everyone's going to love your stuff.
It's about finding your audience. But she also talks about that feeling of getting published, that validation.
She describes it as getting a rank that you never lose. That quiet joy of knowing you added something new to the world.
That's a good feeling.
Yeah.
But then comes the pressure, right, to keep proving yourself.
It's true. Success has its own challenges. But it's important to stay true to yourself, not get caught up in the hype.
It's about that balance, the joy of writing and connecting with readers. And she talks about finding that radium pack implanted near my heart.
That inner sense of accomplishment, that's what keeps you going.
And that leads to a big idea in Bird by Bird. Writing as an act of giving.
Tell me more about that.
Giving to your characters, your readers, the world. It's about sharing your unique perspective.
It's about connecting on a deeper level. And she has this story about a boy who wants to give his blood to save his sister. He asks, "How soon until I start to die?" It's a powerful image.
Intense, right? So how does that connect to writing?
She's saying writers need that same kind of innocence, that willingness to give without holding back.
To pour your heart onto the page.
Yeah, and it's scary, but that's where the meaning comes from. And it's a gift to others. She says writing can help people be braver, better, more open to the world.
It's a powerful reminder of what words can do, how they can transform us and our readers.
Yeah, it's powerful stuff. And she makes it so personal, like she's talking directly to you, the listener, about the impact you want to have with your writing.
Absolutely. It's like she's saying, your words matter. They can actually make a difference. And she's got this story about her son telling her he loves her face. It's really touching.
It is. And it shows how when you're vulnerable, you open yourself up to those unexpected rewards. We've been talking about the practical side of writing, first drafts, characters, all that. But there's also this deeper level to it, right? Almost spiritual.
Yeah, she uses that kind of language a lot,
Mm-hmm.
talking about intuition, inspiration, connecting with something bigger than yourself. And those times when you feel stuck, like the well has run dry. What does she say about that?
She's got this exercise. Imagine you're dying tomorrow and ask yourself, what should I do today? It's about shifting your perspective.
Wow, that's intense.
It is, but it's about finding ways to refill your creative tank. Sometimes that means taking a break, going for a walk,
Getting out of your head.
Exactly. She's big on participating in life, letting everyday stuff feed your creativity.
I love that quote she uses from Rumi about God's joy moving from unmarked box to unmarked box.
Yeah, that's a good one. It's about being open, finding beauty in unexpected places.
Exactly. And for writers, that means paying attention, noticing the details, the little things that make your writing real.
She calls them lemonade-making things.
I like that.
Yeah. And you got to trust yourself. Trust those weird little ideas that pop up. She calls it sophisticated innocence, being naive enough to just put those thoughts down on paper.
But that means silencing that inner critic, that voice that says, no, that's stupid.
Oh, yeah, the worried mother voice. We all have it.
We do. And sometimes those sneaky ideas lead you to uncomfortable places, like dealing with jealousy, which can be a creativity killer.
Oh, yeah. She's really open about her own struggles with that, comparing herself to other writers who seem to have it all.
But she reminds us that success isn't everything, right?
Right. It's about finding your own measure of success, staying true to your voice, your vision.
And sometimes that means setting boundaries, like she did with that friend who was always bragging about her money.
Yeah, self-care sometimes means stepping away from people who bring you down, and she eventually finds peace with her jealousy. She even sees the beauty in it by focusing on her own path.
Okay, so we've talked about the creative process, but what about actually sharing your work?
Yeah.
Publication. What does she say about that whole experience?
Well, hold on tight. She compares it to, get this, the last weeks of pregnancy and the first day of 7th grade gym class.
Oh, wow. That's quite the image. But it kind of makes sense, right?
All that anticipation, vulnerability, self-doubt, she nails it.
And she doesn't shy away from rejection. Remember that story about the editor who basically said, your life is boring?
Ouch! That one had to hurt. But the important thing is, she didn't let it stop her.
Yeah, she kept writing, kept learning.
Hmm.
And it shows, rejection's part of the game.
It is. But she also talks about that amazing feeling when you do get published, that validation from the writing community.
She calls it getting a rank you never lose.
Yeah, that quiet joy of knowing you brought something new into the world.
That's a good feeling. But then, of course, there's pressure, right? To live up to expectations.
It's true, success comes with its own baggage. But it all circles back, you know? Staying true to yourself, not getting caught up in the hype.
It's about that balance, the joy of writing, connecting with readers.
And remembering that radium pack near your heart, that inner spark.
And that leads to a major theme in Bird by Bird. Writing as a gift.
What do you mean by that?
It's about giving to your characters, your readers, to the world.
Sharing your unique perspective, putting yourself out there.
And she uses that intense story about the boy willing to give his blood to save his sister.
Yeah, heavy stuff. And he asks, how soon until I start to die? What a powerful image.
It is. But how does that relate to writing?
It's like she's saying, writers need that same kind of selflessness, that willingness to give everything, even if it hurts.
To bleed a little bit on the page.
Exactly. And when you do that, it becomes a gift for your readers, for the world. She says writing can help people be braver, better, more open.
It's true. Words have that power to change us, to change the world. Yeah, it's like each story, each voice adds another piece to the puzzle of what it means to be human.
Exactly. And she's really good at finding those universal truths. You know, those moments that connect with everyone, no matter who they are, where they come from.
And it's her honesty, I think, that really gets to people. The fact that she's so open about her own life, the good and the bad.
It's refreshing. Like, in a world where everyone's trying to be perfect, she's like, hey, it's okay to be a mess.
Right. And that's what makes her relatable. She's not afraid to show her flaws.
And when you do that, when you're vulnerable, that's when you really connect with people.
Absolutely. So we've talked about giving, about being vulnerable, about how powerful writing can be. But what about when you hit a wall? When you just can't seem to find your way?
Well, you know, she doesn't pretend it's all sunshine and roses. She admits that writing can be tough. You're going to have those moments of doubt, of fear, even despair.
We've all been there.
But instead of saying, just push through it, she's like, hey, be kind to yourself.
Give yourself a break.
Exactly. Sometimes you just need to step away from the work, do something you enjoy, remember why you love writing in the first place.
It's like hitting the reset button.
Yeah, and she reminds us that you can find inspiration anywhere, even in the everyday stuff, the little things we usually ignore.
It's about being curious, paying attention. Like she says, finding those lemonade-making things.
Yeah, those little details that make your writing come alive.
And then there's that idea of trusting your gut, that inner voice that tells you what's right, even when you're not sure why.
That sneaky, creeping voice, she calls it. It might lead you down some weird paths, but it's usually right.
You just got to quiet that inner critic, that voice that says you're not good enough.
Oh, that worried mother voice. We all have it, but sometimes you gotta tell her to chill out.
And sometimes trusting your gut means taking risks, trying new things, writing about things that scare you.
It's about pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. That's where the growth happens.
So I think what we've learned from Anne Lamott, from Bird by Bird, is that writing is a journey. It's messy, it's unpredictable, but it's ultimately about being true to yourself and sharing that truth with the world.
And she gives us the tools to do that, you know? The practical advice, the encouragement, the permission to be imperfect.
It's like she's saying, hey, we're all in this together. Let's write our hearts out.
I love that. So if you're looking for a guide on your writing journey, someone who gets it, someone who'll make you laugh and think, pick up Bird by Bird.
Anne Lamott is the real deal. She'll remind you to take it slow, embrace the mess, and trust that something beautiful can come out of it all.
And remember, one bird at a time.
Happy writing, everyone.
Yep.